Hi, this is a short example to show how the MVC pattern can make things a bit easier to you. This video is going to start out by building a small app, and right now I just set up JavaFX. So if you're in doubt, look on YouTube how to do that. So now I have a running Hello World application. So what I want to show is how we can take some data that we have in one window and share it between multiple windows using the MVC model. So first off, I'm going to open up my fxml file and going to make some changes to that file. So I'm just going to open Scene Builder. And in Scene Builder, I'm going to remove the grid pane. And then I'm going to use the anchor pane instead. It's a bit easier to use. And then just for simplicity, I'm going to add two things. I'm going to add a button that I'm going to use to open a new window. And then I want to have a list here that I want to share to the new window so we can see that things are working. So this was a button here, and then I want a list view. Put that here like this. So now we have a button and we have a list. That's good. I'll save that. Now because I changed the, I deleted the top control, the grid pane, I lost the controller that's behind this. So I better type controller in here to say that this is the controller class that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to click somewhere and save that. There are maybe sometimes some issues with the scene builder that it doesn't save if you don't click anywhere, somewhere, and then. So I'll do that, and I saved it. I close, and now I can see that it's using the controller, wasn't it? Yeah. So I just forgot that it's under, by default, it's created under package sample. So I need, of course, to put that in here as well. So I'll just add it here, sample.controller, and it's all good. Okay, so now I have one controller. So the next thing I'm going to do is I just want to put some data into that that list. And we cannot use the constructor of the controller because the list hasn't been created yet. So we need to use some other way. So there is the implements, initializable. And this way we can use the method that we need to implement here, the initialize method, to do something after initializing everything. So this is a good way to do that. So now we need to be able to access the view from in here. So we need to give that list view an FX ID. So I'm going to say FX ID, and you can do this in Scene Builder if you're more comfortable. And we'll just call this something like, let's say person view or something like that. So that's going to be the ID for that. So the next thing we can do here is we can use Alt and Enter, or we can and on Windows, and then create the field person view, and it automatically creates it in here. I don't like personally that this is public because we can do private, and then we can do with the add fxml like this, and then we don't need to expose it like that. I'll just use alt enter to, I need to import that, of course. So this way we can keep it private, but only expose it to the fxml, which I think is better. So now we are in here, we need to initialize the person view. So I'm just going to put something into it. I also need to say which kind of objects are inside of this person view. Oftentimes you would then have a list of persons or something like that. In this case, I'm just going to add simple strings because it's faster than if I need to create a class for persons. So now I have like a list of strings, so I can add something to the person view. I'm going to say add, and then I can add like a person here. Whoa, sorry about that. Just use some random name. And then, of course, I can't add. So I might, just before I do this, I might say that the person view, of course, you need to do the get items, which will get the list that is behind the person view, which is an observable list. So when I add any persons to the list, it will be automatically updated. So I'll show that later, how that works. So just add some persons here. So now that I have 3 persons, I should be able to see that when it loads up the controller, it initializes these persons and they're put into the list. And I should be able to see my button down here, which is doing nothing. So now I have 3 persons in the list. So that is pretty fine. I had a problem when I opened the program. The window is too small. That's because I just used the IntelliJ's basic JavaFX ML template. So you can just delete these 2 numbers here. These are the X and Y values when loading. So if you remove those, it will automatically fit your contents instead. So I think that's a bit better. Okay, so now this is done. So the next thing that would be fun to do is I need to do something like opening up a new window. So we can see here, this is actually how you create a new window. So I'll just copy the code here, just this part, and then I'll need a new controller and a new view. So I'll just create a new fxml file and we'll call this another view. And now I created that. And then it says I need a controller. I use the Alt Enter. No, that doesn't work. Let's see if we can make it auto create that. Create class like that. So now we have our another view. I don't like to call it another view. I want it to be called another view controller. That's better. So I'll just change the name here and it will say that you can't do that in Java. It needs to be the same file name as you have the class name. So that's it. Okay, so in the another view controller, that is fine. So now I have that. And then in the another view here, what I really want to do, I really want to have the same things as in here. So I'm just going to copy the children from this file and into this file here, like that. And now I can open this up in Scene Builder and see what it looks like. And it looks pretty much like the other one. Just make it a bit bigger like this. And yeah, keep the button for now. That's fine. Good. So that's it. So now I have another thing I can open up. So now I go back and I want to copy this. So I'll just copy the code from the main. That opens up a new window. I go into my controller for the main window. And I want now to make it do something when I click the button. So if we open up the sample here in Scene Builder, and then I want to add an action to the button, I go to code over here, And for the action, I need to say, what do I want to do? I want to have an action that says click open, maybe something like that. And I click somewhere else and I save that, close the window. And now I can see that that is not implemented. So I'm just going to say create that method in the controller, and it automatically creates that method in the controller. So I just paste the code in here and I copy this part, and again, I don't need that method to be public to anyone else than the fxml system. Okay. So now I get an exception here because I need to handle the exception. So I'll just put that here. So, and I don't want to load the sample. I want to load another view. And of course I don't have the stage. So I'm going to say stage equal new stage. Like that. And I need to import that. Import class. And we should see from the JavaFX system here. And then we change these things here like that. So let's see, now we have a click and it should open up something like a new window. Let's see. Yes. So now we have two different windows. Maybe I should change the title so we can easily see the difference between them. So let's call this like another world. Wow. Like this, so that we can see the difference between them. So yeah, so now the problem is I'm adding the persons to one window, but what I really want to do and what I wanted to show in this video was more that how can we, if we open up this window, how can we make it be the same data without copying it through to the windows? So oftentimes what you can do is you can kind of cheat, and when you open up this new window, you can send whatever data you want to be displayed to the other window. So yeah, in that case, you need to do a bit of changes to this part here. So let's try to do that. So I'm going to say fxml loader equals new fxml loader, and then we put the thing we want to load in the constructor, and then we can just say loader.load. This is basically the same thing with the difference that now I have an instance of the loader. Before I just used the static loader. And we need that instance because we can say loader.getController now. So this way we can get the controller of the new class. So that is this controller class here. So what I can do here is I can create a new method in here for setting some value. So let's say I want to have like a instance variable like private to be a list of string that I call persons. And this list of strings, I want to get that. Maybe I should just fix the import. Java util, yes, please. And what I can do then is I can say public void set persons. And then I'm going to get a list of string that are called persons. And the next thing I can is I'm going to say persons equals persons. And of course, this doesn't make sense except if I write this in front of it. So this is referencing here, right? So now I have a set method for my persons. I can go back to my other controller here, And now I can say loader.getController. And I would think I could say set persons, but it doesn't know which kind of controller we're talking about. So we need to do some typecasting for this to work. Another view controller. And we put all of this stuff here into here and into here. This way I now have another view controller, and now I can see the set persons. And I can say person view, get items, something like that, right? So this will get all the items from my list, send it to the other controller, and then that's it. Okay, I just forgot. I deleted the root part here. Sorry about that. I was just seeing that. Okay, let's try it again. So now if I click the new button, I called set persons. So unfortunately I cannot see that. So after setting the persons, I could just say, okay, then I want to change the list as well. So if I go into my fxml file, I have a person view ID here. So I can create a field. I'm going to say fxml, and then I'm going to say private like this. And the list view is of string. So now I can add all of the persons to that person view. So I'm going to say person view, get items, and then I can use the add all method for adding the persons that I got from here. So if we do like this, and I click the button, it moves all the data from one window to another. So this is very nice. So now there's only one problem. So let's say that I want this to be based on the same data. So let's say I delete this person by clicking the button, but I also want it to be deleted over here. This is often the problem that we get to if we do it like this. So let me show you what the problem becomes then. So first I go in here and I open up the another view. Let's go for scene builder. And I go into button and create an action here. And let's call that click, delete, and make this into a delete button. Like that. Click somewhere else, save that, close that, and create that method. Change it into fxml private. Okay. So when I click delete, all I want to do is find that person on the list and then delete it. So I'm going to say person view, get items, remove, and then I'm going to say person view, get selection model, get selected item. This way it will first take which item is selected and then remove it from the list. So if we try to run that, we'll see that that should work flawlessly. So we open up the new window. Now we have our delete. And if I delete the person from here, he's gone. But there's no connection between these two. And I can even open up multiple windows and delete another person here. So they have each their own data model. So what if I wanted them to have a shared data model? Something like if I deleted it in one place, it should be deleted everywhere. So what I could do, I could send like messages to each window that if you delete something here, it should also be deleted here. But then the problem is if I delete something in this window, it should also know about this window to make sure it gets updated. So this is really where the MVC pattern comes into play. So instead of doing this kind of weird set persons thing, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to use a model instead, a common model between all of the classes. So a model is really simple. It's just a new class that we create, but we can use that. So let's call this class our model. So it's nothing special. It's really just a class. But we use that for holding our data. So the most important thing that we have in here is we have an observable list of strings, and this is going to be our persons. So what we want to do in here is of course we want to import observable list from JavaFX collections, but we also want to be able to get that list from in here. So we can, I used alt insert to do this. I'm going to create a getter for the observable list. Another thing that's important is that this observable list is not something that should be overridden, because an observable list is only working if it's the same instance of the observable list that we're always working with. So we shouldn't have a set method for that. We should only have other ways to do that. So we can actually make the observable list final. And now we get a problem because we cannot have an observable list except if we initialize it. So, oops. So you can do it like this, that we put an observable list here. I'm just going to put the constructor here. And then I'm going to say this persons equals. And what I want to do, I want to initialize it. And we need to use the FX collections observable array list. Let's just use that one. There are different kinds of observable lists, but this is one of them. So now this is an observable array list. So what we can do now is we can get the list here, the observable array list that we're working with. And of course, we should be able to add persons to that list and remove persons from that list. But if we can get the list out, we can also add and remove persons. When it says final here, it doesn't mean that we cannot change the items of the list. It only means that we cannot change the reference of the list. So we cannot reinitialize the list somewhere else, because that would break our model. So this is why we want it to be final. So let me show you how we can do this. So if we go into the controller now, so instead of adding the items like this, what I want to do is I want to add the items to the model. So I'm not going to initialize them here. I'm going to initialize them directly inside of the model. So I go into the model and I'm going to say that instead of this, I'm going to add these persons like this. And of course, I need to initialize it first. And this should, of course, this is test data, so this should be in some other class or something. But for now, let's just do it like this. So now we move that into our model. We broke everything and we're crying and we don't know what to do. So we open up, oh, we don't have any data in here. So I need the data from this model to go into our view somehow. So instead of doing this, I'm going to initialize the model in here. So I'm going to say private, and I'm going to say model like this. And I'm going to say model equals new model. So this way, when I initialize model, I create the observable array list and add some persons to it. So now what I'm going to do is, now I have the model. So what I'm going to do something really cool. I'm going to say person view, and instead of get items and adding them from the model, I'm going to say set items. And I'm going to say model get persons, because the model get persons is the final observable list in here. So now we're binding this view directly to the persons here. So if I do like this, now it's in here. And it's still getting copied here. It's still not working because I haven't fixed that part yet, but I'll show you. So what I want now is that instead of copying data from one window to another, I just want to add the model to the other windows. So I'm going to change another view control. Instead of set persons, I'm going to use set model. And we're going to change it from a list of persons here into a model. And then instead of having a list of persons, private model like this, and then we're going to say this model equals model. Wrong button. So that's it. So now we have set a model inside of this. So instead of using get items at all here, again, we use these set items and we use the model get persons to inject that. So now we actually working, this person views items is the same as the person view items in the other controller. So another view controller that I create, or any controller that I create now, shares the same model. I do need, it's no longer set persons, it's set model, and then we just send the model. So if I try to do this now, we have the MVC model up and running, because now every single window that I create will be based on the same model. And there's something magical as well, and that is, let me delete Hans. He gets deleted from all the windows because they are based on the same model, which has the same observable list inside of it. So now these are the same, they're not the same window. These three are instances of another world, and this is our main window. So we can always create another one. And again, it's not a copy, because if I delete this, it deletes them everywhere and it gets updated instantly. So we better close these now. So this is basically how the that works in JavaFX. So this is a nice way that we can control the different views and how they get access to the model. Another detail I just want here for the last thing, another detail that's pretty cool is that we cannot break the model. So if I say something like model get persons, and I say that is equal to something like new, or fx collections observable array list, I will get errors because I cannot change that, because it's not a variable. There's no way I can ever change that. I can't even do it inside of the class itself. So if I go into the model class, and let's say somewhere in here I wanted to assign this person's equals new, or fx collections observable array list, I get an error because this is a final variable, so I can only assign it once, and that is here. So they will always point to the same instance. So this way, there's always only one instance of the observable list in the model, and this is actually what we want in this case. And this way, we can share any kind of data that we want. We can also have other private fields that we observe upon. It doesn't need to be observable lists. There's also all kinds of private final. So we can do observable input, output. There's a lot of arrays, maps, sets. So there's a lot of different things we can use observables for. Like we can create simple string properties that are observables, something like this. And then this name. And then we can say something like and then this name will also be shared across everyone who has access to this by having a get name property, which would probably just be called by convention, it would be called name property instead. So that's basically it. So that's it for this a very small guide on MVC in JavaFX.